Alrighty folks, we are unloaded here at Best Buy and on our way to our next pickup. We were in and out of here pretty quick, about an hour and a half all total. A little less, considering we were 2 or 3 minutes late. Our pickup's only about 15 miles away, actually 13 miles away. But it's not until later this afternoon. But I'm going to go ahead and get there early because it's only 6:30 and we can beat traffic. And then we can sit on site and wait it out and use and just stay off duty so that we can take advantage of split sleeper. I think I may have come out of here. Let's see. I'm not sure if I came out of here going the right direction. We may have needed to go left there. But anyways, we'll take advantage of split sleeper. That way we can maximize our drive time today. The GPS, our next load actually takes us home back down towards Atlanta. And the GPS wanted to route us down I-95. I ain't doing that on a weekday. I don't even like doing that on a weekend. I-95 is a mess from north of New York City all the way till you get south of Richmond. It's just a gigantic parking lot the whole damn way, and I hate driving on I-95, and I will do anything I possibly can to avoid that. So we're going to take 78 west over to 81, and then take 81 down to meet up with I-7. I think it's I-75. So we will avoid all of that traffic and have a nice relaxing drive south. And then we will get as far as we can tonight. I'm not going to worry about trying to get into a place early. I may have to reserve a spot. That's fine. And we don't need to worry about time tomorrow as far as getting up early and getting out early and things like that, because we're going home and we don't deliver until Monday morning, about 15 minutes from home. So that's our plan. I'll see you when we get to our shipper. Alrighty folks, well, we are checked in, but of course we are really early. You know, the appointment time that I got from the dispatch was 1 o'clock. The appointment time they have in their system is 2 o'clock. But that's okay, because we are here, we don't have to move anywhere, and that means our clock is paused. At least it will be very soon, and we'll just be able to take advantage of the 3/7 split sleeper rule. We'll be off duty until we're finished loading. We'll be able to creep over to the dock when they do finally call us and give us a dock door, and however long that takes, it doesn't matter, because our 14-hour clock is paused. Like I said, we're not going to take 95 south. We're going to take 78 over to 81 and take 81 south through Virginia, which is a much nicer and much faster drive than going down I-95. I've learned that lesson after many years of going 95 and just suffering through it. So I won't be doing that. So we are going to just chill out. I may work on editing some videos, although since we are going home and I do plan to get that MacBook this weekend, I may just chill out and and enjoy not having to do anything for a little while. Maybe I'll even watch some Netflix or something, which I haven't done since coming out. Alrighty, see you in a while. So we are finally docked. It's actually way before appointment time, which is a good thing. It's only about 10:45. So we're going to be way ahead of schedule. You know, at this point, it really doesn't matter. We're getting loaded quickly. We will have still plenty of time to drive this afternoon. We'll be able to get out of town probably before evening rush hour, which is I'm looking forward to that. Maybe even before lunch rush hour. So we'll hit 78 and get going and get out of the city pretty quick. I'm optimistic about our ability to drive, and of course, we will be loaded. You know, I will be taking advantage of the split sleeper. I'm going to try and get us to Mount Jackson tonight, because I know that from Mount Jackson I can get all the rest of the way to Atlanta in one day tomorrow. So if we can get to Mount Jackson, great. If we can get past Mount Jackson, I may even push it. We'll see. But that's what my plan is tonight. I wanted to show you real quick where we had to dock, but I'm gonna save it for a second clip, because I'm gonna get out of the truck so I can show you better. So this is one of those docks that can be a little tricky to get into. It's inside a building, which means we got to back into a garage door, and depending on how the sun is working out for you and how much light there is, it may actually be very difficult to find the lines and get in here and get straight. You know, once we've crossed under the inside the building, the lighting is fine. But when you're outside and you're trying to find those lines in these mirrors, it's nigh on impossible. You're basically doing it blind. So it's not fun. A couple years ago, I had to do a backing maneuver like that in New York City into a building dock like this, from the blind side, off of a busy street where traffic was backing up and just blasting their horns at me, because it was taking me a long time to do it, because it's a difficult back even when conditions are optimal. I think you know, I recorded a video, one of my first videos that I put out that's done pretty well, about how stressful it is backing in New York. Well, this took the cake. This was the hardest back I've ever done. And it was literally on a one-way street where I came at it from the with the building on my right side, which is the blind side, which means the mirrors aren't going to do you a whole lot of good. And I had to get set up for this thing and essentially back into this building, blocking all the traffic, and it was just an absolute nightmare. I didn't do a really bad job about it, but I did, I think, break part of the trailer. I didn't break any of their building, fortunately, but yeah, it was just an absolute nightmare. I think it took me easily 30 minutes to get back into that spot. It was just absolutely ridiculous. It was a building like this, but unlike being in a yard, in a facility, it was just on the street, and it was just crazy. I told my boss when he offered me that load, I said, well, I'll go anywhere once. After I picked up that load, I called him back and I said, okay, that was once, I'm never going back. Alrighty, folks, well, we are on our way. We are loaded. We got out here around 11:40. We will be using our split sleeper, but we're going to stop somewhere along the way, not too far from here. It's almost lunchtime, and I'm kind of hungry. Well, moment of truth, folks. I did not go to a scale house before I came to the scale house. We are about to find out if we're overweight or not. I don't think we're overweight. The load's only 37,000 pounds, and I'm usually pretty good at eyeballing it on the tandems, so I think we should be fine. But we're about to find out, because we're going through the scales. Headlights on, flashers on. Okay, that's a lot. Oh, I know why they're doing that. They want to make sure everything's working. Most places don't ask that. find out, shall we? Stop, so I think we're good. Either that or they weren't actively monitoring it. I think they got themselves another truck to inspect, so maybe they just opened it up. Alright folks, I'm gonna pull in here at the Love Shack and get some lunch. Evening folks, so we are stopped right now at the Pilot in Toms Brook, Virginia. We're about to fuel up. It gives us an interesting opportunity tonight. You know, I've been mentioning a couple of times that we're going to be using the split clocks, and I think when we get parked tonight, I'm going to take a few minutes to kind of explain how that works. So y'all get a little tutorial on how I use it. Now there's lots of different ways to use it, but you'll see how I use it. I'm going to go ahead and fuel up real quick, and then we're going to keep on moving. Technically, if we were running a straight clock right now, we're out of hours. We're in violation, but we've still got 3 hours and 45 minutes of drive time because of the split, and I'll explain that later. So we'll talk to you in a few. Well, I've talked about it enough times, but welcome to the Liberty Truck Stop in Mount Jackson, Virginia. This actually is, I don't know why, because it's not really anything special, but it's one of my go-to truck stops. I'm going to pull on through the fuel aisle here. I don't know why those guys are blocking up the lane. It's not truck parking. But, so as you can see, there is gobs and gobs and gobs of space here. And it's, you know, what time is it? It's 6:30, it's a little after 6 o'clock at night. And this place is wide open. Now, it is a Friday night, so there's fewer drivers looking for parking, and this is probably not a big popular spot with local drivers, tons of space. I've never had a problem finding a spot here, and 9 times out of 10, maybe more, I get the same spot right here where we're going to park tonight. I like this spot for some reason. It's my spot. It belongs to me. I own it. Now, I just park here whenever I run this lane, if it's the right time of day that I'm passing through here, as it is today. And back at the at the Pilot, at Tom's Brook, which is only 20 miles up the road, it was already full. 30 minutes later, we're here down the road, and it's just wide open. So that's the difference, and that's why I like parking at these smaller places. Let's make sure that we don't go off the back, and we're good. Let's go ahead and set just the trailer brakes. Okay, we're good. But so yeah, I park here pretty much every chance I get because it's just tons of space. There's no issues getting parking here. When 30 minutes up the road at the Pilot, it's full, and even the sheets across the street looked like it was full from the street. But we'll actually probably go over there for breakfast because they've got those good, you know, create your own protein bowl type things. So we'll go there for breakfast. But give me a minute to get situated, and we will do a quick tutorial on how to use the split sleeper. Sorry about that, ran out of battery. Where were we? So I only use the split sleeper when I need to get to someplace within the same shift. Now tomorrow, because we actually shut down at 6:30, the earliest we can get started tomorrow is 4:30, because we still need to take a 10-hour break to get going and have a full day available to us tomorrow. So it doesn't get you where you're going faster if there's a sleep involved. You know, if there's a sleep cycle involved, you're going to get where you're going in the same amount of time with or without the split sleeper. So, you know, if we had stopped, let's say our destination was Atlanta and we needed to get all the way to Atlanta, there's no way to do that without a 10-hour break. It's just not possible, not from where we were, not from New Jersey. We can't get from New Jersey to Atlanta in a 14-hour cycle, in 11 hours of driving. We would have to stop somewhere at some point. So the way I do the math is, you've got a minimum of 10-hour break there. That 10-hour break, it doesn't matter where in the day you take it. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, okay, well, I'm out of hours at, you know, I started my shift at 4 a.m., which means I can drive until 6 p.m. No, 4 a.m. plus, yeah, 6 p.m. That's 14 hours. But if I run all the way to 6 p.m., how do I explain that? Okay, so how do I explain my logic behind not using the split? Now, theoretically, I could use the split every single day. You know, anytime that I'm parked someplace longer than 2-3 hours, I can take a split and I can push my 14-hour out and run a longer day. What that winds up doing means I shut down later in the afternoon than I normally would, which means I can't wake up the next morning until however much later I shut down. You know, I like to run from about 4 a.m. to about 6 p.m. at the latest. Sometimes I run 3 a.m. to 5 p.m. and that guarantees that it doesn't guarantee, but it makes it a lot more certain that I will be able to find parking when I'm shutting down, because it's still daylight and there's usually a lot more parking available at 5 p.m. or even earlier at 4 p.m. But once you get past that magic 5 p.m. time and it starts to get dark, a lot of truck stops fill up, and they fill up fast. So I want to be shut down by 5. But I want to maximize my day, so I get up earlier so that I can be done by 5. If I'm using the split, well, then I might not be shutting down till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. First of all, I'm going to have a harder time finding parking. Second of all, the next day, I'm starting my shift later. Let's say I shut down at 8 o'clock at night. Well, then the earliest I can get started the next day is 6 a.m. Which means, every day I'm kind of, and if I use the split again the next day, I'm pushing that out even further and further, and it's just kind of rolling around. That messes with me. I don't know about some of these young whippersnappers out there that are able to run crazy hours, and it doesn't matter to them. They can be up for 25 days straight and just keep on going, and they don't ever sleep. I know a certain company that makes that kind of possible, even though it's not legal. But they run crazy amounts of hours. Or they could run crazy amounts of hours if they weren't restricted by what the government says. So I can't function that way. I need a regular schedule, or I start to get fatigued and it messes with my body. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm too old for that kind of shit. I can't handle just a random schedule that changes every single day. It's not easy on me. So what I do is I get up at 4 a.m. I go, I make my delivery. If there's a delivery that day, I make my pickup if there's a pickup that day. And then I drive until about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And then I shut down. And I do it again the next day. And I do it again the next. And I always keep that same, mostly that same schedule. And it works for me. I've not ever had a real issue with it. I get up but like today, I had to get up. We had a 5 a.m. delivery, and we weren't going to make it to 5 a.m. delivery if I got up at 4. Especially from considering where we parked last night. So I said, well, I'm going to shut down early. I'm going to shut down at a location that's far enough away I can be sure I'll get parking. And then I'm not going to be in a complete dump, because there was a couple of truck stops that were closer to where we were picking up, but they were complete dumps. And I actually stopped in at one to get lunch on the way out of New Jersey, and it was kind of gross. But so I made sure that we were stopping at a location that I would be comfortable stopping and spending the night, and that's what we did. But it meant I had to get up an extra hour or two early the next day so that we could make our delivery on time. On rare occasions, I'll do that. I don't usually like to. If our delivery is not till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I'll just time it so that we go to bed at our normal, stop around 5, 6 o'clock, wake up, get going 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we just repeat that cycle. Repeat that over and over again. I can work that way. I've never had a problem working that way. Some guys just go balls to the wall, run their entire 11 hours out, and just park on the side of the road wherever they run out of time. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's too stressful. And it's dangerous. I mean, if you're running out of hours and you're just forced to park somewhere, you're not going to pick you're not going to find the safest place to park. You're just going to park on the side of the road, and you're eventually going to kill somebody. I'm not down with that. I'd rather be safe, I'd rather be comfortable, and I'd rather get a good night's sleep. So that's just how I work, and using the splits screw that up. So I don't use them very often. I only use them if I have to be somewhere in order to make a delivery, or if I want to be somewhere like we did tonight, where I don't need to wake up early tomorrow. I don't need to get to the yard at a particular time tomorrow, because we're going to take a 34-hour break, and then we're going to deliver. I think the delivery is like 9 a.m. on Monday. So we have way more time than we need to get home, get parked, do our 34, and make the delivery on Monday. So I don't care if we drive a couple of extra hours today. This is kind of the one exception to my rule of only doing it when I have to do it. So that's it. That's why I use it. Now, I know other drivers use it for different reasons, but that's why I use it, and that's how I use it. And I hope you find this useful. I will probably have to edit this down a bit so that it's not completely rambling and completely off the wall, but and hopefully it makes sense. I know the splits tend to be confusing, but once you've used them a few times, you kind of understand them a little bit better. It's daunting at first because the rules are kind of weird in the way it pauses the clocks, and you have to kind of keep track of that. And if your ELD is like mine and it actually shows that information for you, like I can switch back and forth between the normal clock where we're completely out of time and the split clock where we still have 2 hours and 46 minutes that we could drive today. That's useful. There are some ELDs out that don't really have this feature of switching back and forth, and they'll just show you in a violation. Now, legally, if you're using the split sleeper and you know what you're doing and you know how to do the math, legally you're in the clear, as long as you close out the cycle and do your 7 or 8 hours in the sleeper. So legally you're in the clear, but some ELDs out there will just say you're in violation. And some companies out there, if they see you that you're in violation, their compliance department or their safety department or their logs department or whoever, whatever they call their department, might call you up on the phone and say, hey, you're in violation, man. You got to shut down, or we're going to, stop giving you loads, etc., etc. A specific company that we will talk about at a different time has this particular issue where their ELD does not show the split, and yeah, you can try and explain to them, I'm just using split sleeper. I'll be shutting down in a little while, and then, or I'll be making my delivery in a little while, and once I'm done with that, I'll go into the sleeper and close out the cycle. If they are adept with the regulations and understand the regulations and understand how split sleeper works, then they'll probably be cool with that. If they don't, well, then they're probably going to force you to shut down and yell at you, because to them it looks like a violation, and anybody that looks at the ELD is going to say, you're in violation. Now, you might be able to explain it to a DOT officer if he happens to pull you over and see you're in violation. If he knows the rules, then you can just say, hey, I'm using the split sleeper. This is when I started. This is when I stopped. Just kind of do it that way and walk them through it, and you'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Carry on. Or you may get unlucky and get a DOT officer that's completely clueless and doesn't know the rules, and he'll write you up, which I would assume that at that point you could dispute that and get it tossed out, because you're technically in compliance as long as you do your 7 at the end of the day. So be careful. Some ELDs will show it, some don't. The ones that don't show it, you may want to be a little more careful with using it. And there may be a company policy against using it too, so you should probably ask. But that's how you use it. That's how the rule works. Whether or not your ELD makes it easy for you to use it or not, or whether or not you can do the calculations in your head or not, that's up to you. And up to you and your company, rather. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, leave a comment down below. If I've said something that's completely wrong, I'd like to know, because I've been doing this for a while and that's how I do it. And if I'm wrong about how I'm doing it, then I'd like to know very much. But I don't think I am, because because with the motive ELD, I can just flip it into show split clocks, and I know how much time I have left, and I just know that I have to be in the sleeper for however much time, and it won't go back to normal the next day. So I'm pretty sure I'm doing it right, unless motive is doing it wrong. But like I said, if this was useful to you, you're welcome. If it was educational to you, you're welcome. But if you found it completely boring or useless, sorry, not sorry. Have a good night.